Hey everyone, we've updated our channel name from Chinese Novel Audio Wave to Chinese Novel Audiobook. Nothing else will be changing. We're still uploading a new video every day, bringing you the best Chinese novel audiobooks. Let's dive into today's story. Chapter 31, Disappointing Defense Against the Dark Arts Class. Are you okay? Wayne helped the frightened Hermione up and asked with concern. No, it's okay. Hermione shook her head, looking at Seamus with fear in her eyes. Magic is too dangerous. No, that's not right. It's not the magic that's dangerous, it's Seamus. She had practiced so many spells at home and there had never been such an accident. At most, the spell failed to work. Hermione said seriously, let's stay away from Seamus from now on. I don't want to go to the infirmary lying down. Wayne smiled and nodded. He saw that Professor Flitwick had arranged for Seamus and Neville to practice in the corner of the classroom, for fear that they would hurt others by accident. Fortunately, Seamus is still just a little wizard and his magic power is far from strong. The effect just now was just for show, there wasn't much actual damage. Everyone was just startled and recovered quickly. After class, Hermione had forgotten that she was still angry with Wayne and enthusiastically invited him to the library to do homework together. Wayne had no objection, and the two of them walked all the way to the library, and immediately shut up as soon as they entered the door. The librarian, Mrs. Pants, is a bad-tempered woman who is extremely protective of books and hates noisy students. If anyone makes her angry, she will wave a feather duster to chase them away. Wayne felt that she was most likely a dud, and the reason why she treasured the books so much was because the contents recorded in them were the treasures she had always dreamed of. Hermione took out the Defense Against the Dark Arts textbook and started writing her paper, while Wayne chose a book called Xena's Dueling Manual, and started reading it. Xena's was the most famous dueling master in the early 20th century. He once set a record of 38 consecutive undefeated games and dominated the front-page headlines for a week. The most special thing is that this duel master did not master any advanced magic, but achieved such achievements only by relying on those simple spells. The book also recorded several of his battles. Wayne took a look at it and indeed learned some useful tricks. Hogwarts is a huge treasure that lies before everyone. But not everyone has the ability or energy to obtain it. Apart from the professors, the 4 deans are all talented people. It will be absolutely beneficial to receive their guidance. Even if you go to Snape to ask questions, he may be a little harsh at best, but he will still answer your questions. The library is also a treasure trove. It contains the heritage accumulated by the castle over thousands of years. Students have 7 years to improve themselves, but how many people do so? Therefore, Hogwarts is very magical, as it provides both happy education suitable for everyone and elite education for the ambitious. Whether it is a dragon or a worm depends on your thought. What Wayne was dissatisfied with was that the restricted books area was too large, occupying 1/3 of the entire library. It wasn't this big at the beginning, but after what happened with Voldemort, Dumbledore expanded it little by little to what it is now. Even magic like the Patronus charm was classified in the restricted books section. Old be dang, I can buy this magic at Flourish and Blots. The new semester quickly got on track and the freshmen gradually adapted to school life. For most of the courses, everyone is quite satisfied. The little wizard's favorite course is undoubtedly the charms class. The professor was easy to talk to, and he spent plenty of time waving his wand and performing magic during class. The transfiguration class was not bad, but Professor McGonagall was so strict that the young wizards were a little scared, fearing that they would lose points for their own school. Another problem is that transfiguration is really difficult. After 2 transfiguration classes, many people's hands are almost numb, but there is no progress at all. The match was still the same match, but there was no trace of the needle. A little wizard from Ravenclaw was clever and brought a needle to class, successfully deducting 10 points from his house. Many people said that now when they see long and thin objects, they look like silver needles and they definitely have styes. In addition, the Hufflepuff Badgers also like the classes of their headmaster. In the first week, their task was to replace Ginger Root, which is a material for making magic potions. It can be used to make scabies potion, intelligence-enhancing agent, etc. When Professor Sprout said that this thing sold for 5 galleons in Diagon Alley, Wayne and the other young wizards born in Muggle families were stunned. "Don't be so surprised, kids," Sprout explained with a smile. "This ginger is indeed the ginger you know, but the value-added medicine and fertilizer used in the planting process are very valuable. That's why it's so expensive." "What fertilizer?" Wayne asked curiously. "Moon beast feces." Professor Sprout took out a box filled with silver particles. "The feces of the moon crazy beast has strong fertility and can also enhance the efficacy of medicine, but it can only be used if it is fresh and processed." Wayne nodded and made note of it. The books he read mostly focused on potion making and material selection, and he really didn't understand the planting and maintenance of these basic materials. He felt a little embarrassed. Herbology was the course taught by his dean, yet he was not taking it seriously. "I'll go back and read some more books on herbal medicine to catch up on my studies." The little wizards were not very interested in any other courses. For example, for astronomy, you need to climb up the tower at around 10 o'clock on Wednesday night and look at the stars with a telescope. It sounds romantic, but it is too late and many little wizards are already yawning due to sleepiness. After returning, I had to write a 10-inch astronomical observation record, which was simply torture. Not to mention the history of magic, every word Professor Binns said was a hypnotic spell that no one could resist except Hermione. The story of how wizards were worshipped as gods in the early days is obviously very interesting, and I could get into it when I read the book myself. But when it came out of Professor Binns' mouth, it became dull and boring letters. Everyone has come to regard history of magic as a good place to catch up on some sleep, because Professor Binns never interferes with students, and as long as you don't jump up and make trouble, you can do whatever you want. Also, Defense Against the Dark Arts was a huge disappointment. How can Quirrell teach well when he stutters? There was even a rumor that Quirrell was made to cry by a young wizard. Most people didn't take it seriously, but as the story spread more and more widely, it became more detailed and even the name of the little wizard was known. Now, they had no choice but to believe it. The name Wayne Lawrence once again came into everyone's attention. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 32 Wayne, Harry, don't look Snape in the eyes. Friday morning, the Hufflepuff freshmen finally had their first Defense Against the Dark Arts class. The classroom was located in a corner on the 3rd floor. When the first little wizard arrived, he repeatedly confirmed that he was in the right place before he walked in hesitantly. The classroom was very dark, with only a small window that was still closed, and the room was filled with an indescribable strange smell. When Wayne came, he also frowned subconsciously. Just as I was about to open the window, Quirrell came. Don't open it. It's fine like this, it's fine like this. Professor, I'm here to attend class, not to absorb poisonous gases. Wayne said unhappily, and some little wizards already laughed. But he quickly covered his mouth. They were not afraid of being discovered and blamed by the professor, but because after Quirrell came in, he brought a strong smell of garlic, making the smell in the classroom even more unbearable. I encountered a resurrected zombie in Black State. I was cursed and cannot enjoy the wind. Quirrell explained stutteringly, pointing to the scarf on his head. This is a gift from the king, prince of a tribe. Resurrected zombie. Many young wizards became interested. The name of the resurrected zombie, also known as the resurrected corpse, is well known in the magic world. It is a mysterious religious product. Each resurrected corpse is a living dead, a walking corpse without consciousness and soul. Their attack power is not strong, but they have various uses. It is an essential sacrifice for dark wizards to practice black magic. Professor, how do you subdue the resurrected zombies? Justin Finch Fletchley asked, raising his hand. This has nothing to do with this class. Quirrell avoided answering, turned to page 3. Today we are going to learn how to avoid Kaba. Come on, Professor, just tell me about your experience. Hannah asked again, but Quirrell ignored her and began to lecture vaguely. How to say it. Worse than Professor Binns. Although Professor Binns's speech is very hypnotic, at least his pronunciation is clear and can serve as a bedtime story. But Chi Luo stuttered and couldn't read coherently. He wanted to sleep, but the smell in the room made it impossible for him to fall asleep. Suddenly, the Defense Against the Dark Arts event that everyone was looking forward to turned into a 2-hour-long torture. Wayne raised his hand. "Lao, classmate Lawrence, do you have any questions?" Quirrell asked. "Professor, there is indeed a problem, and it is a big problem." Wayne stood up. "I understand that Professor Binns reads the textbook, but if you still read the textbook, what will we learn in Defense Against the Dark Arts? If we meet Kaba, are we going to hit him to death by waving our textbooks? Defense Against the Dark Arts, of course you have to learn spells. Can you tell me about the use of the repulse spell?" His words were strongly supported by the students, and everyone spoke loudly. Quirrell was terrified, and stammered as he explained that he wanted everyone to acquire more knowledge, and that he would teach them spells in due time. In fact, he did teach. After enduring for an hour, Quirrell wrote the spell of the repelling spell on the blackboard. And then it was over. Wayne said again, "Professor, please show us how to do it." Quirrell hesitated for a long time and refused on the grounds that it was too dangerous. Everyone was even more dissatisfied. What danger could a repelling spell have? Seeing that the situation was out of control, a few tears squeezed out of Quirrell's flickering eyes. He ran away with the textbook in his arms, leaving a group of dumbfounded little wizards behind. Wayne was also confused. He just wanted to earn some points. Why did he make people cry? It has been almost a week since Wayne came to school. On the one hand, he is getting familiar with the school, and on the other hand, he has not found a suitable opportunity to earn points. The other professors were all worthy of his respect, and he would never do anything to mess things up just for the sake of points. Only Quirrell, this guy pretends to be a wimp, and he is Voldemort's Jinchuriki. He doesn't feel any guilt when bullying Wayne. In just one class, he had already scored over 100 points. Just when Wayne was planning to make one more effort and collect 200 points before taking a break. Who would have thought that Chi Luo's ability to withstand pressure was so poor that he actually ran away? Who can I go to for justice? There are no secrets in Hogwarts. What happens in the classroom will spread immediately. The first to know are the other two first-year houses. Did you really make Professor Quirrell cry? During lunch, Wayne was pulled to the Gryffindor table by Hermione and asked curiously. "No, what happened to these two people?" Without answering Hermione, Wayne looked at Harry and Neville beside her. Both of them had dull eyes and numb expressions, as if they had been played badly. "Don't mention it." Ron put down his knife and fork angrily. Just now in potions class, Snape chased Harry like a Krupp. He asked a lot of questions even though they were things he hadn't learned yet. In the end, Harry couldn't answer them and he deducted 2 points from us. Granger's hands are raised to the ceiling, but he still can't see. Is he blind? Hermione gave him an unpleasant look. What does "lift to the ceiling" mean? Does that mean she is a long-armed monster? I took a potions class. Wayne was not surprised at all. Instead, he was surprised that Snape only deducted 2 points from them. This was too little. I do have a way to make you less targeted, Wayne said after a moment's silence. Harry's eyelids twitched and he looked over involuntarily. Coach, I want to learn. Ahem. Wayne pretended to be profound and said, when Snape asked you the question, were you staring at him the whole time? Harry nodded sharply. This is a master, he even knows this. That's your fault. Wayne shook his head. Think about it, when you hate someone, and they keep staring at you, clearly showing that they are not convinced, what will you do? Harry mused, I'm getting angrier and angrier. Wayne clapped his hands and said, that's right. Next time you encounter this kind of situation, just bow your head and sincerely admit your mistake. Even if the professor is angry, there's nothing he can do about it. After all, you have such a good attitude. Harry's eyes became brighter and brighter, and finally he said gratefully. Thank you, Wayne, otherwise I really don't know what to do. You're welcome. Wayne smiled gently. Remember, don't make eye contact with Snape." After saying this, he disappeared after the system prompted that his points had increased by 50. Chapter 33. Thank you Snape for the melon. Looking at Wayne's back getting farther and farther away, Hermione became a little suspicious. She always felt that this guy was doing something bad behind her back, but she had no evidence, so she had to continue eating with her head down. There is no class this afternoon, so the little witch plans to go to the library and use the whole afternoon to finish all her homework, and use the 2 days of the weekend to prepare for the next lessons. This week, Hermione's academic excellence has been fully demonstrated, and she can help Gryffindor get some points in every class except potions. But she was still under a lot of pressure because of Wayne. Judging from their performance in class, the two were actually about the same, but Hermione knew that Wayne must have hidden a lot of things. In the Transfiguration class, she could only slightly change the color and texture of the match. Although Professor McGonagall was happy, she also told Hermione that Wayne succeeded in one try. Hermione knew that the reason why she could perform so well now was entirely due to her hard work and a good memory. But what about Wayne? This guy only read miscellaneous books when he was with her in the library, and often sneaked away to play wizard chess and crackling exploding cards with his classmates. He looks more relaxed than Harry and Ron. Last time she caught Wayne performing a wandless healing spell on Chu, a skill that many adult wizards could not master. Pure overwhelming talent is what makes people despair. Hermione knew that she had to work harder to catch up with Wayne's progress. He hid it too deeply. If Wayne knew what Hermione was thinking, he would definitely cry out in injustice. He is also hiding. After arriving at Hogwarts, Wayne never thought about quietly developing himself. The wizarding world was still relatively peaceful, and only those who showed more talent would be favored by the professor. In the future, the punishment for getting into trouble will be lighter. The main thing is, this is all the first-year students learn, and any similar student can learn it, like Hermione now. It doesn't reflect his talent. Do I have to go directly to the professor to perform a 5-whip spell? Wayne, who didn't know that he had been labeled a pervert by Miss Granger, came to the potions classroom in the basement after lunch. A week was enough time for the little wizards to get to know the teachers in the school. Especially Snape, a very unique professor. At almost 12:30, the classroom was already filled with Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw students. No one dared to make a loud noise, and many people kept glancing towards the door. Wayne sat at the same table with Hannah, and to be honest he wasn't too worried. Since his last name was not Potter and he was not a student of Gryffindor, Snape had no reason to target him. At exactly 1 o'clock, Snape walked into the classroom door without missing a beat. He strode in, so fast that he created a breeze and his robe fluttered in the wind, like a walking bat spirit. "Put away that useless wand." Snape's voice was low and magnetic, but it gave people a cold feeling. The little wizards did as they were told. Like Professor Flitwick, Snape took out the roster and began calling the roll. Every little wizard who was called would respond quickly and carefully, for fear of being reprimanded for being a little slow. Accurate sense of time is an essential basis for brewing potions. "I'm glad that no one is late." Snape spoke slowly, and he was obviously happy, but more than one person saw it in his eyes. Disappointment. "You are here to learn the precise science and exact craft of potion making, and since there is no silly waving of wands here, many of you will not believe that this is magic. I don't expect you to truly appreciate the beauty of the simmering cauldron with white smoke and bursts of fragrance. You won't truly understand the magical power of the liquid flowing into people's veins, which makes people's hearts and minds excited and confused. I can teach you how to improve your reputation, brew glory, and even prevent death." This was a very infectious opening remark, and many people were already fascinated and looked expectant. Wayne secretly curled his lips while Snape wasn't paying attention. He spoke very well indeed. I would say his speaking ability is second best in the wizarding world, second only to Grindelwald. Brew glory, prevent death. I didn't know and would have thought Snape was going to teach them how to make the Philosopher's Stone. If death could really be prevented, why not save Lily? Well, that can't be said. If he said it, he could guarantee that he would be able to receive the green light from the tip of Snape's wand in the next second. "Lawrence," Snape said suddenly. Wayne was stunned for a moment, but his body stood up subconsciously. "If I want to make herbicide, what else do I need besides lionfish spine powder and flobberworm slime?" "Hogwarts juice, sir. How many methods are there to make the rejuvenating agent?" "3 types, extraction, boiling, and grinding into powder." "I need a bazaar. Where would you find one?" "In the stomach of a cow, but now there are many cultivated artificial products." Porcupine quill treatment steps for scabies solution. Cut it into 3 cm lengths, and make a slit diagonally every 1 cm. Tisk. Snape stopped asking questions. It seems that compared with Mr. Potter, you are indeed more worthy of the title. The other little wizards were stunned. They could understand every word these 2 people said. But put together, because of the isolation room, okay. Why are you looking at me? Is there something I just said on my face? Write it down. Snape suddenly exploded, and the students began to take notes in a hurry. "You two, do you want me to ask you to sit down?" "You're welcome, Professor." Wayne curled his lips and sat down. Who knows why Snape was crazy and suddenly called his name? And it wasn't random, it must have been targeted specifically at him. The questions just now were basically beyond the syllabus and were totally not something that first-year students needed to learn. This was definitely premeditated. What Wayne didn't know was that Snape had heard from Professor McGonagall about Wayne's talent, and that he could summon a Patronus when he got his hands on the wand. This magic had special meaning to him, so he naturally remembered Wayne's name. Today's test was just a spur-of-the-moment attempt to make things difficult for Wayne and deduct some points from Hufflepuff. Thanks to his and Cedric's outstanding performance, Hufflepuff's score has now surpassed Slytherin. To his regret, Wayne passed the test. Why couldn't he be like stupid Pot? Glancing at Wayne, who looked calm, Snape waved his hand and the process of making the potion to treat scabies appeared on the blackboard. "The materials are in the closet. Work in pairs. If I find anyone wasting materials, I'll make them eat the extra materials." All the little wizards shuddered. Chapter 34. Hufflepuffs don't keep idle people. There are only wrong names, no wrong nicknames. Snape really turned into a big bat and wandered around the classroom. No one knew which classmate he would appear behind in the next second. "Bones, is there something wrong with your eyes? Can't you see the big words, Viper's Tooth? What are you doing with the boar's tusk? Laugh, Carter, what are you laughing at? What do you mean by grinding it into powder? Your powder is the same size as a pea." Hannah, who was in the same group with Wayne, shuddered and silently reprocessed the venomous snake fang powder. "Miss Brown, I suggest you send a letter home and bring back the brain you left at home before you go to class again. I wrote it clearly, add the flobberworm slime, you put the whole worm in there, you think you're cooking." "Tisk, what's the difference between this and cooking?" Wayne muttered softly after hearing this. "Aren't they processing the food now? Put the ingredients into the pot in order, turn down the high heat to low heat, and finally turn up the high heat to reduce the sauce. A pot of freshly baked green slime and you're done." "Hannah, what are you doing? Don't let go." Wayne quickly stopped Hannah from adding ingredients to the pot. "What is this?" "Porcupine quills." The eyes of the witch with pigtails revealed an innocence that had not yet been tainted by knowledge. Wayne was speechless. The porcupine quills are the last step. They should be added when the potion is almost finished. It's too early now. Also, didn't we agree to cut it into 3 centimeters? Do you have 3 millimeters here? The dark brown porcupine quills on the brass tray could be called foam. Wayne began to understand why Snape had such a bad temper. It's hard to be in a good mood when facing such students every day. "Ah." Hannah opened her mouth wide and looked at the blackboard hurriedly, and found that it was indeed written as 3 centimeters, and her whole body turned black and white. "What should I do, Wayne? I only got this one set of materials." Thinking of what Snape had just said, that if you waste materials you will have to eat them yourself, Hannah looked at Wayne with tears in her eyes. "Save me, Wayne, I don't want to be poisoned to death." Wayne sighed, continued to make the medicine. "Keep an eye on the professor for me. Tell me when he's far away. He no longer dared to let Hannah do anything, and took all the materials to his side to handle. Snape continued to spray his venom, but there was nothing wrong with what he said. It wasn't until he walked to the other side of the classroom that Hannah quickly told Wayne. Wayne looked up and found that Snape had his back to him, so he immediately took out his wand. Porcupine quills are flying. Suddenly, several porcupine quills flew out of the closet, passed over the little wizard's head, and landed in front of Wayne. Everyone was busy boiling the medicine and didn't notice what was happening. Snape seemed to have sensed something and turned back suddenly, but found nothing unusual. Then he turned around and continued to teach Toby and Norman a lesson. Your ability poses no threat to me in the academic field, but it can bring me infamy in the field of education. 2 points deducted from Hufflepuff. That's so cool. Hannah was no longer panicked, her eyes sparkling with stars. This is the flying spell, which can only be learned in the 5th grade. You can learn it if you practice more. I don't have the time. Hannah shook her head, her pigtails swinging back and forth. I still have to go to the kitchen to learn how to cook from the elves. They know so much. Hannah said her dream was to take over her family's leaky cauldron and change the menu, which hadn't changed in 100 years. So whenever I have free time, I go to the kitchen to learn from each elf's specialties. All I can say is that Hufflepuff doesn't keep idlers. The little wizard does everything except studying hard. Until the end of the get out of class, apart from the group of Wayne Hannah that satisfied Snape, only the works of Lisa Dupin and Padma Patil from Ravenclaw gave him a fair evaluation. Padma Patil is an Indian Brahmin girl of high caste. She has a younger sister, Parvati, who attends Gryffindor College. It is very rare for twin sisters like this to be assigned to different colleges. It's finally over. Walking out of the potions classroom, Wayne stretched comfortably. After a week of classes, there will be 2 days of vacation. Oh yeah, and there are dozens of inches of papers on all sorts of subjects. Thinking of this, Wayne frowned and walked towards the auditorium. Although these things don't require much brainpower to write, they waste a lot of time. Instead of doing this, he might as well take a walk by the Black Lake and familiarize himself with the terrain of Hogwarts, which would be more meaningful than doing these simple assignments. Wayne, I was just about to go look for you. As they entered the auditorium, Cedric suddenly appeared and patted Wayne on the shoulder. What's up? It's not me, it's the twins looking for you. Cedric tightened the book in his arms. Wayne glanced at it and saw that it was the textbook for Care of Magical Creatures. As the two walked towards the long table, Wayne asked, what tricks are they up to now? I don't know about that. They said they would come to the lounge to see you after dinner, but they didn't say anything else. Wayne nodded. Okay, I got it. At 7 o'clock, a classmate found Wayne, who was playing wizard chess with Cedric, and told him that the twins were outside. I'll go with you. What if they play a prank again? Cedric took the opportunity to give the chessboard a push and said very loyally. If it wasn't for the fact that he only had 2 pawns and a queen piece left on the chessboard, Wayne would have almost believed it. When I arrived outside the common room, I saw 2 rather funny faces. Fred, or George, laughed and joked, Hey, Wayne, why did you bring a bodyguard with you? He came here on his own. I didn't call him. Wayne shrugged. What do you want from me? Gemini has been very busy this week since he was cheated by him twice last time. He had just finished copying the famous alumni, and now he can't wait to deliver it to his door. Wayne was also a little curious about what they were planning. We're here to invite you, George said, but since Cedric is here too, let's go together. How about walking around the campus together tomorrow? You say that as if I got parchment for free when I bought a quill pen. It's so cheap. Cedric looked at them with contempt. Besides, what's there to do in school? Fred raised his eyebrows slightly. Aren't you curious about the corridor on the 4th floor? Chapter 35 Night Tour. The corridor on the 4th floor, where Dumbledore had expressly forbidden young wizards from going when school started. But human nature is like this. The more they are prohibited and the more orders are repeated, the more they are eager to act. Since the first day of school, students have been curious about the place, and many of them have taken action. The results were also tragic. The professors had anticipated this, so there were people patrolling there every day. Any little wizards caught would have 5 points deducted from their marks at the very least, or be put in solitary confinement at the worst. There are already dozens of casualties on the death list, half of whom are Gryffindors. This also resulted in the Gryffindor score column being empty 1 week into school. Fortunately, there is no such thing as negative points, otherwise I would still owe several dozen points. Cedric looked at the twins in shock. Are you too crazy? Derek is still cleaning the bathroom every night and he smells when he returns to the dormitory. Of course not, we are sober. George Bear spread his hands. Please don't doubt our professionalism in night tours. Or a night tour. Cedric's voice rose an octave. Fred said as a matter of course, with so many people during the day, we must act at night. We've already investigated. The person guarding the corridor tomorrow night is Filch. He's too easy to deal with. If Lee makes a noise somewhere else, he'll definitely rush over like a cat in heat. Why did you call me? Wayne asked curiously. It seems that I won't be able to contribute to this matter, right? Of course, it's just in case. The twins said at the same time. If something goes wrong, we need someone to take the blame. At that time, as long as we run faster than you, we will be absolutely safe. Wayne, you're not scared, are you? If you are, you can refuse. The two of them spoke one sentence each, and they cooperated with each other in perfect harmony. This was a conspiracy devised by the twins. They didn't have any bad intentions, but if Wayne was caught, it was his own fault and he couldn't blame anyone else. Wayne naturally understood this, so he agreed without hesitation. The twins achieved their goal, walked away arm in arm with smiles on their faces, while Cedric looked at Wayne. Are you really going? Of course, this has not been promised. It would be terrible if you were caught. You might be the next one to clean the bathroom. Wayne said nonchalantly, isn't it okay as long as you don't get caught? Are you going or not? I'll go. Then why are you talking so much nonsense? Go back and play another game. On his first weekend at Hogwarts, Wayne slept in and didn't get up until after 9 o'clock. There was no breakfast in the auditorium at this time. If it were other colleges, they could only eat snacks to fill their stomachs and wait until noon to have a full meal. Who is Quain? Hufflepuff. How can you starve while guarding the kitchen? As the elves bowed respectfully, he walked out of the kitchen with 2 tuna sandwiches, left the castle, came to the Black Lake, and sat casually on the lawn to eat breakfast. There were students walking in groups of 2 or 3 on the lawn, some were taking a walk, some were chatting. Not far away, cheers came from the Quidditch field, and I didn't know which house was training. While eating, Wayne glanced at his system panel. There is no change in other attributes. There are more than 500 points in the points column, of which more than 400 points were earned this week. He had been really lazy this week, and some of these points were earned by tricking the twins and making things difficult for Quirrell. The other part was earned by the spell he cast on his roommate before going to bed every night, from 5 points at the beginning to 2 points now. It is estimated that there will be less and less. The speed is too slow. But I'm going to go on a night tour tonight, and I don't know how many points I can get. After dinner, Wayne went to the library again and borrowed a book called Insights into the Dark Arts, How to Protect Yourself Safely. Hermione was also seen there. The little witch was hidden in a thick book. Seeing that she was engrossed in reading, Wayne left without disturbing her. In the afternoon, he toured the entire castle again and tried all the stairs in the main castle area, gradually forming a 3-dimensional picture in his mind. Many people forget the rules of the stairs for various reasons before graduation. Wayne keenly realized that there seemed to be a great business opportunity here. Combining some previous inspirations, he already had an idea. What is lacking now is technical ability. You still need to earn more points for the lottery, and it would be best if you could draw some knowledge related to alchemy. Wayne, aren't you doing your homework? Looking at Wayne, who was doing nothing and strolling back like an old man, the 2 roommates all had black question marks on their faces. Why are you in such a hurry? Isn't there still tomorrow? And I don't have to do transfiguration homework. Professor McGonagall exempted me from it. It's good to have talent. Toby was extremely envious. The transfiguration homework was a full 6 inches. The two of them wrote until the evening and only finished half of their homework. Looking at their 2 roommates who were almost asleep, Wayne took out his wand. He was afraid that if he went out, the 2 guys wouldn't be able to find him when they woke up, and would go out and scream, exposing him. It is better to add a layer of insurance. Dizzy. No, I read it wrong. Sleep peacefully. When the light of the hypnotic spell fell, there was no change in the 2 of them. However, as long as there was no external influence, there would be no problem for them to sleep until dawn. When he arrived at the common room, Cedric was already waiting for him. Let's go. The model student was a little excited. It was not like he had never been on a night tour before, but this was the first time he had been with so many people. Not to mention that they were going to a restricted area that the principal had warned about seriously. It's so exciting. Wayne's behavior was much more normal, no different from any other trip. Keep calm. What if you attract Filch? Where are we meeting up? The trophy room on the 2nd floor. Fred and George are probably already there. Let's go. The 2 walked out of the wooden barrel door and came to the 1st floor. The moment he stepped onto the 1st floor, Wayne's system also sent a prompt sound. Host violates school rules by wandering at night, points +20, points +5 for each hour of continuous wandering. Wayne's lips curled up into a slight smile. Isn't it here? From now on, I can go out for a walk every night and get 20 points. What's the difference between this and giving it away for free? He was a good student for a week and it was a big loss. Seeing Wayne suddenly smile, Cedric was a little confused, but still reminded him in a low voice. Tread lightly. Filch has very pointy cat ears. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 36 The Weird First 2 Defense Against the Dark Arts Professors. You are a wizard, can you solve the problem with magic? Wayne sneered, then cast a lightning spell on himself and Cedric. Cedric felt that he had become as light as a swallow, and his footsteps were barely audible. He asked excitedly, where did you learn this spell? 300 Tang poems. No, 30 practical spells. They're sold at Flourish and Blots. I'll buy one when I get a holiday. Quote. The 2 of them hurried along and soon arrived at the trophy display room. Sure enough, the twins had been waiting for a long time. They were hiding in a corner with a map in their hands. Seeing Wayne and Cedric coming over, George calmly put the map into his pocket. We're here pretty early, but plans have changed, so we'll have to postpone it for a while. Cedric frowned and asked warily, what tricks are you 2 playing? It's really not our fault this time. Fred sighed helplessly and explained. It was Lee. He was curious about what the pet food for the owl tasted like. He took 2 bites and has been lying in the school infirmary since this morning. Madame Pomfrey gave him some medicine, but he's still a little dizzy. Let's let him lie down for another half an hour. Wayne and Cedric were sweating profusely. Is this Gryffindor? Why is he so brave? The most outrageous thing is that even when people are almost dying, they are still thinking about going out at night. It is impossible for them to learn this spirit. Are you sure he can recover? Wayne confirmed. He didn't want to spend the whole night here. Don't worry, Lee is basically fine, but he is a little confused about the direction. Fred waved his hand indifferently and asked curiously. Wayne, did you really bully Professor Quirrell into tears? There are no secrets in Hogwarts. After an afternoon and a day of spreading the news, almost all the teachers and students in the school now know about the little conflict between Quirrell and Wayne. Even Professor Sprout called Wayne away during lunch and gave him some instructions. I know you're a good boy, Lawrence. Professor Quirrell is just too nervous. He needs some time. Wayne was also helpless. What do you mean I bullied him to tears? I just wanted the professor to cover up the spell, but who could have thought that he would break down? Be nice to our defense against the dark arts professor. Fred patted Wayne's shoulder. This is the only year you can see him. Maybe he's just on guard against vampires. Cedric, an honest man, was still defending Quirrell. He encountered vampires in Romania during the summer vacation and seemed to be scared. Whatever the reason, Quirrell won't show up again after this semester. George shrugged. In fact, no one can stay in this position for more than 2 years. Wayne became interested. Can you tell me about the previous defense against the dark arts professor? He knew that this position was cursed by Voldemort, and he also knew the fate of several professors afterwards, but he really didn't know why the previous professors left. Lee Jordan hadn't arrived yet, and being bored, the twins began talking about the tragic experiences of the previous 2 professors of defense against the dark arts. When we first enrolled, the professor of defense against the dark arts was Olivier Knight, a nice-looking old man. But after Easter, the Ministry of Magic's striker suddenly came to Hogwarts with a wanted poster. Professor Olivier has a bad habit, and that is alcoholism. He drank a little too much that time and actually beat the then Minister of Magic seriously. That's why Millicent Bano was unable to serve for another term due to health reasons, which led to the current minister taking over. Cedric nodded in agreement. My father said the same thing. He also said that Barnold is cursing Professor Olivier every day at home now. Wayne was dumbfounded. What an outrageous butterfly effect. A professor actually beat the Minister of Magic into early retirement. If Voldemort knew this, he would die of laughter. What about last year's professor? Wayne asked again. At this moment, the twins and Cedric's faces became extremely strange, as if it was something that was difficult to talk about. Last year's Montre Clift was a friend of Headmaster Dumbledore. Cedric said slowly. What has he done wrong again? No, he didn't hit the Minister of Magic, and he's not a dark wizard. George shook his head and tried hard to hold back his laughter, but finally couldn't hold it back anymore. Clift suffers from a serious mental illness. It was not until before the final exam that he accidentally left the St. Mungo's diagnosis in the classroom and was not seen by Charlie. Cedric continued, the school was in an uproar at the time. A mentally ill man had been a teacher for a whole year, and no one noticed. The doctors at St. Mungo's went crazy. They searched all over Britain and even went to neighboring France to look for someone, but they never expected to find someone in Hogwarts. At this point, he couldn't help laughing. Wayne could already imagine how chaotic the scene would be. Then why did Dumbledore agree to let him teach? Wayne asked puzzledly. Who knows? Maybe no one is willing to apply for this position. Even if he is a mental patient, it is better than canceling the course. George said indifferently. Anyway, these 2 professors are much better than Quirrell. At least they taught us some real things. Even if Clift is a psychopath, he has not forgotten his ability to cast spells. I don't know what Quirrell is thinking. Muggle studies teaches him well, why does he have to come and seek death? It was a consensus among everyone that the defense against the dark arts professor was a 1-year professor, and they didn't believe that Quirrell, who had been a teacher for several years, didn't know this. It can only be attributed to disbelief. Bang! A huge noise came from upstairs, and several people were startled. Fred jumped up. It must be Lee. He's trying to distract Filch. Sure enough, they soon heard Filch's roar. You big bastard again. I'm going to arrest you and put you in solitary confinement. For a year. The sound became farther and farther away, and it was obvious that Filch had already walked upstairs. Let's hurry up. I don't know how long Lee can hold out. Be careful of Filch's cat. Pushing open the door to the trophy room, the twins ran out first, followed closely by Wayne and Cedric. Chapter 37 Fluffy the Three-Headed Dog, Wayne's Magic Show. In the silent corridor, 4 people tiptoed up the stairs. At every corner, Fred would stick his head out to see if there was Mrs. Norris, and then let the other 3 follow. Every time Wayne passes a place, the system will sound a prompt and earn points. However, these rewards are one-time and only available when you reach the night tour state for the first time. When they reached the 4th floor, they could already smell the odor of dung. Wayne covered his nose in disgust. Can't you choose a method that won't hurt both sides? This is the simplest and most effective way. Fred said as he walked. Filch is a germaphobe. If he can't catch anyone, he will definitely clean up the dung before coming back. This way he will have more time. Cedric exclaimed, "You are really experienced. It seems that he still has a lot to learn about night travel. Don't think that Hufflepuff only produces honest children. In fact, all the naughty children in this grade are all the same. It's just that the environment and background will affect a person. This makes Hufflepuff students look much more well-behaved than students from other houses." They quickly arrived at their destination, the end of the corridor on the 4th floor. Originally there was supposed to be a corridor here, but starting this semester it became a door. Cedric said, and the twins nodded. They were both very familiar with the main areas of the castle. "Do we really want to go in? What if it's dangerous like Dumbledore said?" The honest man swallowed. Fred scorned his cowardice and said, "Why are you afraid? This is a school. Can the principal catch a giant monster and bring it over?" As he said this, he was about to turn the doorknob, but the door was still locked. "Allaho is open. I say forget it, but my body is very honest." Cedric was faster than anyone else and was the first to take out his wand and cast the unlocking charm. "What do you think is in there?" "I don't know, but there must be something valuable, a powerful spell, a treasure map. Anyway, anything is possible." "Shit." Fred gasped instantly and didn't finish his words because he had already seen clearly what was inside. At the same time, I also know why Dumbledore gave such a stern warning. After the door was opened, there was not a room inside, but still a corridor. A dog was sitting there, staring at them with its 6 eyes. If we talk about numbers alone, 8 to 6, Wayne and his team have the advantage. But the dog was too big, filling all the space from the ceiling to the floor. It had 3 heads, all with ferocious expressions, sticky saliva flowing from the corners of its mouth, and a fishy stench hit me in the face. "Merlin's wool socks, is this a 3-headed dog?" Cedric groaned. If there was a fence or other protective device between him and the 3-headed dog, he would definitely be very happy now. You know, it is rare to see a 3-headed dog in the British Isles. They are usually found in Greece. But now, Cedric could even feel the warmth of that stinky breath hitting his face. It's just a matter of sticking it on. How can I be happy? George turned around decisively and tried to open the door that had just been closed, but the 3-headed dog was faster and thrust its head towards him with a growl. George was so frightened that he broke the door handle. "Armor protects you." An invisible wall stood between the 4 people and the 3-headed dog, causing the dog head that pounced over to be severely damaged. It howled and retreated several meters. However, this amount of damage had little effect on the thick-skinned 3-headed dog. It just shook its head and returned to normal. "What are you still standing there for?" Wayne shouted, "Fix the door lock quickly and run." Oh. The other 3 people just woke up as if from a dream, and then hurriedly put their hands on it to cast the repair spell. But because I was too nervous, I failed several times. Wayne didn't bother to care about them. He had been studying magic for so long and came here today just to find a suitable target to practice on. Fainted. Repel quickly. Flying scissors like rain. Colorful light shot out from Wayne's wand and hit the 3-headed dog. The space was too small and there was no room for the big guy to dodge. Bang! A stun spell hit the dog's head on the left, knocking it unconscious. The twins were stunned. They didn't even say anything when Cedric fixed the door handle. They just stared at Wayne beating the dog's head. They know most of the magic here, but the effect is okay against humans. If they use it against the 3-headed dog with both physical and magical defenses, it will probably be no more than a tickle. "Wayne, this is too perverted." The sharp-eyed Cedric even saw a trapdoor on the ground in the space left by the retreating 3-headed dog. What's inside? Although he was curious, now was not the time to explore and decipher the mystery, so Cedric quickly opened the door. "Wayne, run. Filch will be here soon." Is this the end? Now it was Wayne's turn to feel a little unsatisfied. However, he saw that the 3 people had already gone out to wait for him, so he finally used a cutting spell, leaving deep scratches on the floor to warn the 3-headed dog, and ran out himself. After closing the door, the beast's roar disappeared, and the few people finally breathed a sigh of relief. Then he looked at Wayne as if he were a monster. Wayne felt a little scared by their stares and couldn't help but hug his arms. What are you looking at me for? George looked at the boy. Are you an old monster who turned into a child to relive your childhood at Hogwarts? Wayne was full of black lines on his face. Your imagination is comparable to Rita's skies. That reporter from the Daily Prophet. Mum said she was a clown. She actually called Dumbledore an old lunatic. I'm just a little more hardworking than you, and I have a little more talent. Wayne gestured to form a universe on his fingertips. Okay, we've gone to the corridor, let's go back to our dormitories. What's the hurry? Fred shook his head. I just got frightened. I need to eat some sweets to recover. I'll go get Lee, and we'll have some midnight snack together before we go back. Chapter 38 Talent and Hard Work, Angry Snape. The last 3 people found Lee Jordan in a suit of armor on the 5th floor. Filch was going crazy. He chased me from the 4th floor to the 8th floor. I jumped into a secret passage and returned to the 6th floor, but he caught up with me again. In the kitchen, Lee Jordan said excitedly while eating a sandwich. It seems that escaping from Filch is no less difficult than surviving the Battle of Camlin, and combined with the unique racial talents, it's like listening to rap. The elf thoughtfully prepared a large round table for them, which was filled with food and drinks. After finishing a sandwich, he said with some worry. But I always feel like Filch might know it was me. What if he causes trouble for me in the future? Fred comforted him. It's not a possibility, it's a certainty. You are the only niggers in the school, and you are the most dishonest. Filch definitely knows that. Damn it. Lee was stunned, shaking with anger. So you two are deliberately tricking me. Don't worry. Cedric comforted him after drinking a glass of lemonade. As long as he is not caught on the spot or has evidence, he has no right to punish him. Fred curled his lips in disdain. That's right. You've been following us for so many years, but you don't even know these rules. It's because I followed you that I was put in solitary confinement so many times. Lee retorted indignantly, and then asked about the topic that he was most concerned about. What the hell is in that hallway? Did you see it? Speaking of this, several people became excited. I'm telling you, you won't believe it. Lee's mouth was so wide open that even a pear could be stuffed in. 3-headed dog. Trapdoor. Then he looked at Wayne, who was showing off his fandom. You said it was Wayne who defeated the 3-headed dog. Not defeated, Wayne corrected, just stopped for a while. We were the ones who stopped you. Cedric interrupted. Looking at your attitude just now, you won't stop until you kill the 3-headed dog. How did you manage to develop such powerful magic? George said enviously. Compared to you, I was a complete loser in my first year. We are the same now. Fred complained without mercy, even to himself. With just those few moves, he could have turned the 4 of us into muggles. The corner of Cedric's mouth twitched. You can laugh at yourselves if you want, but why drag me into this? Don't you have any face to be the top student in my grade? Is there any trick? Cedric couldn't help but ask. I really can't teach you this. Wayne shook his head. Magic is an innate talent that can only be explored, and it is difficult to improve. If you want to become stronger, besides mastering more spells, you also need to have a deeper understanding of magic. It's not that he is fooling a few people, but that is the fact. The strength of Dumbledore and Grindelwald is the result of both acquired and innate factors. During their school years, they showed extraordinary talents, and only with hard work could they achieve such terrifying achievements. In this, talent is the foundation, and only with hard work and a foundation can you see results. The most obvious example is Hermione. When Harry first entered school, he was busy playing every day and would just act recklessly when encountering problems. Hermione, on the other hand, had already mastered many spells by then. But later, with some guidance from Lupin, after the 3rd grade, Harry's magical power had surpassed Hermione's, and the gap was getting wider and wider. This is the difference in talent. Although Cedric's talent is good, it is only good among normal people. According to the system's grading, his comprehensive evaluation is only at the B level. It's just that I'm average and work hard that I can sit firmly on the top spot in the grade. The twins are even worse, and they are more focused on how to have more fun. I just hate people like you with weird talents. Fred curled his lips. No one mentioned it again and focused on eating their midnight snack. Half an hour later, Wayne and the others walked out of the kitchen and went back to their homes. However, after watching Cedric enter the dormitory, Wayne walked out of the common room again. The check-in in the corridor on the 4th floor has been completed, and 50 points have been obtained. I have earned more than 100 points by walking around tonight. Wayne didn't go out to score more points. Instead, I wanted to go to the banned books section of the library to see if there were any books I needed. He bought an elementary alchemy book at Flourish and Blotts, which was also the alchemy textbook for Beauxbaton's School of Magic. Because of Nicholas Flamel, Beauxbaton's is far ahead in alchemy, and young wizards can choose to practice alchemy in the 3rd grade. At Hogwarts, only those who pass the OWLS exam are eligible. More advanced books cannot be mass-produced. Alchemy is a subject with a very high threshold and is not suitable for wide promotion. Wayne could only try his luck in the restricted books section to see if there was what he needed. Just as he returned to the 2nd floor, Dumbledore and Snape had already arrived at the corridor on the 4th floor. Looking at the oak door which seemed unchanged on the surface, Snape placed his wand on the handle and sensed it. Then he spoke in a sinister voice. "Unlocking charm, it seems your warning is of no use at all, Dumbledore." "That is understandable, Severus." Dumbledore did not seem angry at anyone for violating his warnings. The tone was as casual as if he was chatting with a friend about his naughty grandson. "Wasn't it the same for you back then? Oh, by the way, you were once." Quote. "Shut up." Snape interrupted him angrily. "Don't keep reminiscing about the past when you're old. Was that a pleasant experience? They should be expelled. And any little wizard who broke in here should be expelled. Things haven't gotten to that point yet." Dumbledore blinked, took out the key and opened the oak door. "Let's see how far they have gone." Snape snorted coldly and did not enter first. "That stupid dog only recognizes Hagrid and Dumbledore, and will attack anyone else who appears in front of it." He followed after Dumbledore went in. The 3-headed dog was about to get angry, but when it saw the familiar white beard, it immediately lay down, sticking out its 3 tongues and whimpering. "This is..." Snape's eyes narrowed. The wand emitted a bright light, allowing both of them to see the injuries on the 3-headed dog. Dumbledore said meaningfully, "It seems that our little wizard is really capable." Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 39 Wayne. "I'm a Hufflepuff, how could I lie to you? I find that you have a unique ability to turn a terrible thing into a happy one." Relying on Dumbledore's intimidation, Snape checked the wound of the 3-headed dog and then made a sarcastic remark. "A little wizard beat the 3-headed dog into this state. He might be the next Dark Lord. And you still have the mood to praise him. If you hadn't told me it was a student who broke in, I would have even thought it was Quirrell." There was a flash of surprise in Snape's eyes. He had just been discussing the problem of Quirrell with Dumbledore in the office when a portrait rushed in and said that another little wizard had just entered the forbidden area and Filch had been led away. The two of them then came together. "I don't think so." Dumbledore still smiled. "Tom. Don't mention that name." Snape shuddered all over, as if he had encountered something extremely terrible. "Okay." Dumbledore was somewhat helpless. "Severus, if you want to completely defeat the Dark Lord, you must learn to face him. At least, treat him as an ordinary person." "Ordinary people," Snape sneered. "In this whole world, only you have the confidence to say that the Dark Lord is an ordinary person." "Oh, maybe there is one more, the senior in Ermengarde. Let's get back to the topic." Dumbledore's eyes reflected light and his expression became much more serious. The Dark Lord's appearance was accompanied by many accidents and a series of wrong choices that led him to the path he is on now. Speaking of Voldemort, Dumbledore couldn't help but sigh. If I had guided him well at the beginning, perhaps the subsequent events would not have happened. Snape sneered at Dumbledore's opinion. "Some people are born bad. If you have the ability, you should kill him when he is in school." "I haven't killed anyone in 82 years. A trace of sadness flashed in Dumbledore's eyes. "Don't recall the past anymore. Who was that little wizard? Don't say you don't know. The whole castle is your spy." Snape knew very well that even though the old man usually didn't care about anything, there was no secret in Hogwarts that he didn't know. The same goes for Quirrell. The idiot thought he was hiding well. But as soon as he appeared, not only Dumbledore, but even he himself could smell the dirty and disgusting stench. Must have had contact with that guy. In fact, I really don't know. Dumbledore hesitated for 2 seconds. I just have a rough guess, but it is irresponsible to jump to conclusions. HMPH, just protect them. Snape left behind a few words, too lazy to waste time with him any longer. He left 2 bottles of healing potions and strode away, dragging his robes. In the corridor, only Dumbledore was left, still using the healing spell to heal the 3-headed dog's injuries. Wayne Lawrence, what a terrifying talent. Snape was right, the entire castle was filled with Dumbledore's spies, and he was referring to the portraits that were everywhere. Each portrait was ordered at the time of its creation to serve the current principal. Naturally, the actions of Wayne and his 4 companions would not be spared. Although he didn't know the specific situation after entering the room, Dumbledore knew very well the levels of the other 3 people. Only Wayne, the young wizard who had just entered school, was the correct answer. Perhaps he should shift his gaze a little and pay more attention to other outstanding students. The next day, at 9 o'clock in the morning, Wayne yawned and went to the bathroom to wash up. He changed into a refreshing robe and finally woke up completely. Wayne was so exhausted from working in the restricted books section yesterday that it wasn't until the roosters crowed on campus that he realized it was time to leave. This is the real treasure. Any book that can be placed in the restricted area must be special or dangerous. For example, the book Wayne has been reading, Alchemical Soul, Equivalent Exchange, contains many dangerous methods of refining items, and even involves the risk of death. It's a bit early for him to watch this, as he hasn't mastered a lot of knowledge. It is definitely an unwise choice to hastily refine high-level alchemical items without extensive experiments. However, Wayne did not gain nothing, and it can be said that the trip was worthwhile. Finding a school owl, Wayne quickly wrote down the names and quantities of a bunch of materials, put dozens of galleons in his pocket, and let the owl fly to Diagon Alley. After doing all this, he went to the kitchen to have breakfast, then left the castle and walked towards the edge of the Forbidden Forest. The Scottish Highlands are already a bit cold in September. Today is a cloudy and humid day. The thick fog hides the castle and only the top of the tower can be seen from a distance. Following the Black Lake, Wayne crossed the meadow and came to a small cabin on the edge of the Forbidden Forest. It can't be considered small, at least the door is 3 or 4 meters high, and the style is very rough, giving people the feeling that it was temporarily built by a child. Before Wayne could get close, a black dog next to the cabin started barking. Soon, dull complaints were heard from inside the house. "Yaya, is there another little wizard going to the Forbidden Forest? Stop him quickly." Then there was chaos and confusion. Wayne activated his animal affinity talent, and instantly Yaya's cry turned into a flattering whimper. This was a little trick he discovered. His talent would only take effect when he showed a desire to get close to these animals. "Little wizard, stay away from here. The Forbidden Forest is not a place you can go." Hagrid finally came out, with messy hair, tangled beard, and looking sloppy. With a height of nearly 3 meters and a width of 2 meters, he was a veritable little giant. "Hello, my name is Wayne Lawrence. I'm not going to the Forbidden Forest. I'm here to find you." Wayne smiled harmlessly again, and kept rubbing the dog's head. "Looking for me? Don't play these tricks, I won't believe it." Hagrid remained fully alert. These little wizards tried every trick they could to enter the Forbidden Forest. He waved at Yaya. "Yaya, come here." To his surprise, his dog seemed not to have heard anything and still sat there obediently, allowing Wayne to play with him. "Yes, I want to ask you for help with something." Wayne smiled again. "I forgot to mention that I am a first-year Hufflepuff." "I'm a Hufflepuff, how could I lie to you?" Chapter 40. And you, my friend, are the real rich man. Hufflepuff, the role of this thing in the British wizarding world is similar to the chastity arch in ancient society. When you talk about Hufflepuffs, you could say they are dumb, slow to react, and have average academic performance. But if you accuse them of being dishonest, cheating, and deceiving, 9 out of 10 people will spit at you. This is the golden signboard. Apparently the Hufflepuff label is more useful to a straightforward person like Hagrid. Come in. Hagrid opened the door, Wayne let Fang go, and walked in under Goozy's reluctant gaze. The bonfire in the fireplace was burning vigorously, and it would crackle and explode twice, making the whole room warm. There was a small stool in the room, but no table. Wayne didn't mind and sat on it directly. Hagrid was sitting on his bed. Lawrence, what do you need from me? Just call me Wayne. Wayne made up an excuse. I heard Harry talk about you. He said you are a very good and enthusiastic person. So, when I encountered a problem, you were the first person I thought of. Wayne was not afraid of the subsequent confrontation between Hagrid and Harry. He did mention Hagrid, but not in detail. With Harry's brain, even if Wayne hadn't mentioned Hagrid, he would have been able to fool him into thinking that he had forgotten. Hearing this, the half-blood giant smiled sheepishly. Whether it was Wayne's flattery or Harry's willingness to mention himself in front of his friends, it made him very happy. The attitude that had just been businesslike suddenly became enthusiastic. The half-blood giant stood up and walked to the fireplace, bringing a 30-inch iron plate and a cloth bag. He opened the bag and many candies rolled out. Have some sugar and some saltines I made this morning. Wayne took the candy with a smile, but declined the pie. Can that really be eaten by humans? It looks harder than a brick. Is there anything I can help you with? Let me make it clear first. I won't help you with anything that violates school rules. Hagrid asked, rubbing his hands. Of course not. In fact, I just need some materials to make some small gadgets. Wayne waved his hand and took the opportunity to spit out the candy. The code is too sweet. Is that so? Hagrid breathed a sigh of relief and patted his chest loudly. What do you need? As long as I can get it, I will definitely get it for you. That's great. Wayne was overjoyed and expressed his needs. Feathers of the horned owl, the screech owl, scales of the cockatrice, feathers of the unicorn, bones of the boar, and eggs of the fire ash snake. Is that all? Hagrid asked again after listening. Are there any requirements for the quantity? Well, a small amount is fine. It's just practice after all. Wayne glanced at Hagrid and said casually. It would be great if we could get some venom from the acromantula. The venom of the acromantula. Hagrid frowned. The rest are simple, but I don't have the venom of the acromantula right now. I'll help you find it when we go to Hogsmeade next time. You eat first, I'll go to the cellar to get you the ingredients. Looking at the giant's back as he walked out, Wayne was also a little surprised. Not as honest as imagined. What Hagrid said just now about going to Hogsmeade to help him find the venom of the giant eight-eyed spider was completely a cover-up. The purpose was just to prevent him from knowing that there was such a dangerous creature in the Forbidden Forest. This little bit of cleverness also slightly changed Wayne's opinion of him. As expected, no one should be underestimated and everyone must have the right attitude. About 10 minutes later, Hagrid came back and walked in carrying a large sack. See if these are enough. If not, I'll go to the Forbidden Forest to pick up some more. Wayne took the sack, felt a heaviness in his hand, opened the sack and fell silent. It was stuffed full of all kinds of feathers, bones, and fire ash snake eggs, stuffed together like garbage. The snow-white feathers were clumped together, and Wayne could tell at a glance that they were unicorn feathers. Any wizard with a little common sense knows how precious this thing is. The best quality unicorn feathers that can be used to make magic wands can be sold for 5 galleons each. The inferior ones can also be used to make beauty potions, and are sold for 10 galleons in a bag, which only contains about a dozen or so feathers. Hagrid's bunch of hairs, there must be at least dozens of them. There are quite a few white dumplings in the bag. Adding other things to it, this big sack is worth at least several hundred galleons. The way he looked at Hagrid changed. This is what a real rich man is. Isn't that enough? Seeing Wayne didn't say anything, Hagrid scratched his head in distress. Then you have to wait a little longer. I'll go to the Forbidden Forest to help you look for it. That's enough for me to practice. Wayne quickly advised. This time the harvest has far exceeded his expectations and there will be no problem using it until after Christmas. Thank you so much, Hagrid. The giant smiled and said, it's okay. If you need anything in the future, just come to me. I don't need these things. What he said was right, because Wayne just saw that this guy actually had a blanket woven entirely with unicorn feathers. What a waste of resources. Having made up his mind to maintain a good relationship with the raw material supplier, Wayne also took out the gift he had prepared long ago. The elves said that you are also the one taking care of the school's vegetable garden. These potions are used to repel garden gnomes and insect repellent. You should take them. Very good. Hagrid's eyes lit up. Those goblins and vixens are driving me crazy. You've been a great help, Wayne. We are friends, aren't we? All of a sudden, the half-blood giant was moved to tears. Under Hagrid's hospitality, Wayne left the cabin carrying the sack and the rock pie. Walking all the way back to the Hufflepuff common room, Cedric was watering the plants in the common room. Seeing Wayne carrying a lot of bags, he came over. Are you going to rob? Wayne remained calm. No, I was just chatting with a friend and gave him some local specialties. What local specialties? Here are the pie. Wayne handed over the box of pie and walked back to the dormitory. When I opened the box, I saw that it was indeed a stuffed pancake, still steaming. As a Hufflepuff, Cedric took a bite without hesitation. Ouch! My tooth. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audiobook to stay updated with our latest stories. And never miss out on a great listen.